Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, apparently you hear me, so wonderful. This presentation, we're in a testing conference, right? So this presentation has nothing to do with testing. Well, actually, it has to do with testing, but from a totally different angle. I'm not going to speak about techniques. I'm not going to speak about methodology. I'm going to speak about our responsibility as testers to see what we are developing, what we are participating in developing and testing, and the moral or ethical responsibility we have towards all these brilliant stuff that we are delivering to our customers every day. And I will start from an angle that is now very popular, which is the autonomous car, okay? Then I will give you some more tales about artificial intelligence. Not so long ago, when I was a young boy, I was fascinated by these super clever computers. You know, you have these science fiction movies and you have the captain somewhere on the spaceship and he was just saying something weird to the computer, the master computer, something like, calculate the trajectory to Tatooine and brew me a double espresso with a Tristan cinnamon. And everything went perfect. And I was fascinated. It was so fantastic. And today, we're close to that. We can enter a car and just say, hello, drive me home, please. And it works. Well, more or less, we'll see. Okay? We can speak to our loudspeaker and, hey, Alexa, can you put, I don't know, whatever song you like? That's perfect, and it's working. You're talking to your smartphone and saying, well, give me the road to, I don't know, Moscow, and it calculates and everything goes fine. That's artificial intelligence, right? Okay, now, is it? No, it's moving there, but it's not moving there. I don't know why. We try? Is it? Oh, my trolley is moving, wonderful. Sorry, maybe I will do some exercise today. Hopefully I'm not going to fall, okay? Let's give it a... Okay, let's talk about driverless car. And let's talk about the trolley incident. Who in this audience have heard about the trolley incident? Okay, a couple of people. 2 years ago, when I was here, I was first raising a question to, well, maybe some of you or a different audience, and I was saying, is our car being programmed to kill us? Right? And the trolley incident is all about that. You're driving a car, well actually you're not really driving because this is a self-driving car, autonomous car, okay? And what is happening? You're driving reasonable speed, there's somebody else driving on the other side, and suddenly someone crosses the road with a trolley, wonderful, and you cannot avoid it. So there will be a crash. So what are the possibilities? Actually, you have many possibilities. Okay, imagine what comes next. First possibility, well, you shouldn't have to cross the street in front of me, so crash. One. Second possibility, you move on the left side, but possibly you will face the other car. Or you will move on the other side and possibly crush some pedestrians that are just walking on the pavement. Okay? This is the trolley incident. The trolley incident is not made for testing. It's not made for autonomous car. It's made to evaluate our ethical choices. And you have a lot of refinement in there because you can say that instead of pedestrian, this is a young boy or an old guy or a bandit or a dog. And depending on that, you will choose who is going to live and who is going to die. But basically speaking, this is what we are going to face if we have a self-driving car. Because whatever happens, this guy cannot be avoided. It's physics. When you have a one-ton car that is driving 60 kilometers an hour on a road, it takes a certain number of meters before it can stop, whatever you do. But this is not what is interesting. What is interesting is how we guys, working on that, how are we solving the problem? Marketing says autonomous cars are fantastic. They reduce pollution, they are extremely efficient, they reduce human error everywhere, and so on and so forth. So they're so much better than we are. Right? Okay. Conspiracy theory. The big car manufacturers made autonomous car to remove liberty from us. So we shouldn't go for that, okay? That's just for the joke. We don't care about that, okay? What I did was to read a lot of articles about this autonomous car and try to understand the viewpoint from the different stakeholders in that process. And the first ones are business analysts. And what do business analysts say about this trolley incident? Business analysts say the car manufacturer did not ask us to solve the problem, so there is no requirement for that. If there is no requirement for that, it's not part of the delivery, right? So nobody cares. If you look at product owners or lead developers, what they say is, why the hell do you want us to solve a problem that human being cannot solve? And that is somewhat true. Because if you're driving your car, really driving, I mean, you have your hands on the wheel and you push on the pedals and so on and so forth, well, there's a lot of IT now. Huh? You're not having a direct contact with the car. There's a lot that's braking assistance and so on and so forth. So there's still a lot of IT in the car, but let's say that we drive it normally, okay? If you're facing the trolley, well, you can't solve the problem. You will just act as a reflex, and based a little bit about how you're made and how you're connected or whatever, you will just go through that, or you will move left or right, but just as a reflex. The difference is that the car has a lot of sensors and a lot of information and a lot of computing power that will help make a decision. But this equation is not put into the car because business analysts didn't ask for that. And because these guys say, why the hell do you want us to solve something that you, as a human being, cannot solve? Okay? If you look at engineering department, you see that the problem is even more difficult because the car actually doesn't see like we do. The car sees, well, you have a lot of sensors. Huh? You have sensors everywhere, here, there, and so on and so forth. So they detect a lot of stuff. Movements. You have this infamous LiDAR, some kind of three-dimensional sophisticated radar that sees objects and anticipates and so on and so forth. Okay, and we'll come to that later. But actually, this is more or less what an autonomous car sees from the street and the surroundings. Okay? It's all a question of money, by the way. These autonomous cars are extremely expensive. But the sensors, LiDAR, radar, all these kind of sensors, are also extremely expensive, and especially because they're not yet in mass production mode. So, depending a little bit on how much you put into the car, I mean, how much money, you get different kind of sensors that are more or less sophisticated and can view more or less what is happening. Okay? All in all, it is acceptable, but still, it is not as good as we see. Now, I read other articles very recently on a totally different kind of field, but it gives you still a different perspective. The field I was interested in was the face recognition. You know, these fantastic smartphones, now you look at them, hey Siri, oh, that's you, oh, welcome, Mr. Denoo, nice to meet you again, you know? Face recognition, used for security and so on and so forth, okay? The problem is that recent studies from the MIT and in combination with Google engineers showed that it is pretty easy to make the computer go nerd. You just take a picture of a bird on a tree. Perfectly clear. The bird is not even hidden. You see the bird, you see the tree. And it's a perfect picture. You show it to the computer with the sensors, and it recognizes a bird on the tree. You take exactly the same picture, and for those who are playing a little bit with Photoshop or Photoshop-alike kind of tools, you put a little bit of grain. You know, it's not blurry, it's just grains, little particles there. You still see the bird, you still see the tree, but the computer doesn't see it anymore. It's perfectly recognizable for us, but not for the computer. So think about this. You have all these sensors, and suddenly, for some reason, I don't know, fog, weather conditions, I don't know. Somebody repainted your car during the night, or I don't know what. Boom. And this happened. This actually happened. One of the incidents that happened in the US recently with a Youre self-driving car was that a pedestrian was crossing. Well, it was not a pedestrian, it was a biker, if I remember well. Whatever. Somebody was crossing the road, and it was hit by the car. Because the computer program did not recognize this moving object as a human being, but as just a moving object. And this was a feature, by the way, because if anything that can be interpreted some sort of way as human body would cause the car to drive like this, and the driving experience or the travel experience would be terrible. So at a certain moment in time, you have to discriminate whether it is a real obstacle that you have to avoid or some sort of, you know, a plastic bag pushed by the wind along the street. And then you can, of course, drive through. Okay? The developers are very nice people, but they tend to do what they're asked to do. So, if you don't tell them to solve the problem, they will definitely not solve the problem on their own. What about the driver? Guys, I told you these autonomous cars are costing a lot of money. Okay? If I want to put my good money into such a car, what will be my choice? Let's put it in another way, in another perspective. If you have to choose for a super safe car that will minimize the impact on human beings, or a car that will protect you and your life at all costs, which one will you choose? Well, I know which one. Oh, I want to stay alive. Come on, guys. If I have to put my good money into a car, I want this car to be safe for me. That's why I invested in a Volvo some years ago, because there was all these airbags everywhere and all these driver assistants, blah, blah, blah. The philosophical debate behind is also interesting because how can you compare life of human beings? Is it more interesting to save, let's not be controversial here, a cat or a dog? An old lady or a young boy? Somebody who is ill like hell or a bandit? You know, that's the philosophical debate. What is a life, human life worth compared to one another? University, MIT, has taken the problem from a different angle. If you go to Moral Machine, mit.edu, you will be presented the trolley incident with all various conditions you can imagine. Dog, cat, blah, 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 blah. So the trolley incident, in essence. And they say they will use that to improve somewhere the software and the decision-making process within our cars. And I don't believe it's true. What they will do is publish a nice study and understand how we, morally, ethically, are evolving. What is the society evolving to in terms of ethical behavior? And guess what? It worth a lot of money. our society changed drastically. If you see what happened in Hollywood very recently with these harassed women and so on and so forth, you see that our moral choices are evolving. You could do jokes 20 or 30 years ago about something that is totally impossible today because our moral choice evolved. And you see that every day, right? From a physical point of view, from a statistical point of view, people will say, and all what I'm saying here, I've read it in articles, and so that's not my personal invention, this is documented somewhere. And they say, sorry, we shouldn't care that much about this because this is some kind of rare incident. I love physicists and statisticians because they say that's rare incident. Yeah, but, you know, I'm a software tester, well, I used to be, and definitely I know something about risk analysis and risk management and so on and so forth. If something even that is rare is impacting a lot, and well, if you just crush me while I'm crossing the road, I guess that it damages a lot and it has a certain impact, well, I would at least consider that. Is it a rare incident? I'm not even sure because it happened to me. I was driving my car normally and suddenly a dog crossed the road. And I was perfectly confronted to the trolley incident, the dog or the sideway or the other lane. I'm not a computer, I didn't know what was happening on the other lane. I had to do a reflex. I had to act in microsecond. The decision was made based upon reflex. And I killed the dog. I'm sorry for the dog, but if I went to the pavement, I would have killed people, and that's for sure, because I realized after that they were there. And if I went on the other side, I don't know if there was a car passing by, because I was focusing on the dog. So it happens. That's not that rare. It happens every day. Okay? Oh, that's in French. God exists, I programmed it. Okay? Machines are now said to be self-programming machines. You heard about that, right? These machines, deep learning, machine learning, and so on and so forth. At a certain moment in time, what we have in mind is that machine will write their own code. It's already starting. Yeah? You have code generators. It's the first step, but we are much further than that. The problem I have with that is, if a machine is self-programming, how the hell will I find defects? Will I be able to understand what the machine is doing? Will I be able to understand, as QAer, where the problem lies? You think it's easy? Guess how many lines of code are in a Tesla? You know, the Tesla autonomous car? 100 million lines of code. Yes. And here goes the cherry on top. The final decision is coming to the lawyers and the insurance companies. And guess what? You're driving your autonomous car. Actually, you're not driving. You're just, you know, Googling or reading or I don't know what you're doing, but you're not driving. You're not in charge. You're not in control. And suddenly it happens. And the computer says, with all the computing power I have, with all the sensors and all the, I don't know, thousands of dollars or euros that you put into that brilliant system, I cannot cope with the situation. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, now you're in charge. You're not prepared at all. You don't know if you have to steer the wheel or push the pedal or what kind of, you know, power you have to do, but you're empowered, you're in charge. And from a lawyer's perspective, from an insurance perspective, you are liable. I mean, if you're in such autonomous car today and something happens, you are the driver. Even if you're not driving. Ain't it fabulous? And we had a case like this in the US that was absolutely funny. Well, two actually. One is the first Tesla crash. The guy was reading. And then this was a sensor problem. This super sophisticated LiDAR was more or less missing or not working as it should be. And it totally confused the flank of a car, of a truck, a big truck. It was white. There was a lot of light because it was a sunny day. And it totally confused this with the horizon. So it didn't see that actually the truck was, moving and crossing the road. And it just went through. And the driver was killed. And it was the fault of the driver, because he was not in charge. He did not touch the wheel for I don't know how many minutes. Yeah, but this is an autonomous car. And we had another one. That is a funny one. The guy was drunk, and he was arrested by the police in his Tesla. And the guy said, well, I'm not drunk enough to forget where I live, but I have an autonomous car. And I just tell the car, go back home. Why have I got to be sober? Is it autonomous or is it not? So, dear computer, brew me a double espresso with a twist of cinnamon. Far from that, huh? You know that guy? Isaac Asimov. Who read Isaac Asimov? Oh yes, loads of course, ITers. We all love Isaac Asimov. Remember the lows? 3 of them and then a 4th one? With this, nothing can happen, eh? Right? How many novels did he write about that? Remember the one about the robot that was circling around the ore source? Because he was conflicting with, I should self-protect myself because I'm costing a lot of money and I have to fetch the ore back to the station. It was kind of funny, eh? That was the perfect conflict, and it was circling around. And the only way was to elevate to the first low, put somebody in real danger, so that the computer starts to understand that he had to do something about that. That's one of the Asimov books. I thought, till recently, that Stephen King was the master of horror. One of. I reread those novels with, in mind, all the things that we're developing today, all these kind of artificial intelligence stuff that we're developing today. And I changed my mind. I think that this guy is the real master of horror. What is your choice? How would you solve that problem? I'm sorry to say, there's no real good answer to that, but this is something that we will all be confronted to. Maybe not in a car, but maybe in a selling process, maybe in e-commerce platform, maybe in banking platform, and so on and so forth. Because this artificial intelligence is everywhere. And we will have to decide. Okay? That's the drunk driver, that's the Tesla incidents. And this is happening now. And I can perfectly understand the marketing guys telling me, well, guys, our driverless car, autonomous, are so much safer and reduce human casualties and so on and so forth. Yes, but this is happening too. And they can say, yes, statistically speaking, so many million kilometers were driven by these cars and so on and so forth. Yes, but still you don't solve the problem. Okay. I will switch, unfortunately, because it looks like the performance is a little bit... Are there performance testers in the room? I need that for the video. Well, whatever. I think that you got the picture, right? I've been to Vietnam a couple of years ago, and the first thing that you learn in Vietnam is how to cross a road. That's completely crazy. I don't know if you've been there, but there are thousands and thousands of these little motorbikes, and they are parked everywhere, even on the pavement and so on and so on. Everywhere. And they're driving like nuts. And you think, oh, there are traffic lights, that's fantastic. But then immediately, whoom, they don't respect anything. How do you cross a road in Vietnam? You just start, and you walk, and you keep your finger crossed, right? And you sweat like hell. Not because it's hot, but because, gee, okay? And if you don't do anything silly like stopping in the middle of the road or just, oh, no, not this one, okay? Nobody will hit you. They have 15 or 20 different ways of honking to announce, hey, I'm the big truck, I will go through, whatever you do. I'm there, oh no, I will try to overtake, whatever, okay? So there are codes and signals. Can you imagine an autonomous car in such an environment? Good luck, guys. Let's talk a little bit about our society in general, okay? We are in a now-now society. We like everything to go fast and faster, all right? This is it. When we meet each others, we go for Tinder. We have fast food and we have Amazon that is delivering the parcel even the same day. Okay? This is the kind of society we are living in. And I see that. I see with my children, they can't wait for anything. Everything should be coming immediately. Oh, this internet is lagging again. Oh, the network is terrible. The video is not, well, whatever. Okay? This is it. And it has consequences. One of the consequences is that we have short-term views. So what we're doing is short circles, agile. Okay? Little deliveries, one after the other. But unfortunately, that's about speed and performance, but unfortunately we have an increasing complexity. We are living in a world that is more and more complex because we have integrated services. Now, if you buy a train ticket, they offer you a hotel, they offer you a car, they offer you all these kind of things, leasing car, all these kind of things, all these kind of extra services. The whole world is now interconnected. And you master some bricks, but some others are totally, you know, from outside, alien. And you don't know how they work, but you have to connect to them. You just know how the connectors work, but you don't know the consequence. A Tesla car, 100 million lines of code, just a car. Can you imagine? And we go faster and faster. When will we have time to go deep into the system and understand how it works? And I will show you how it can go wrong. Okay? By the way, user changed. 20 years ago, IT was made by ITers for ITers. People like us. We are all experts here. Huh? We all use a computer every day. We are experts. But the users, that's not us. The users are the hairdresser, the lady who just offers you coffee in the morning, your grandma, well, if she's not an ITer, whatever. These are the users we're targeting. These are the people for which we develop our piece of software, our services. And they don't know anything about IT, and guess what? They don't even care. They don't care about Java, about whatever kind of platform, whatever kind of tool, Jenkins, just name it, I don't know. They don't care and they don't want to care. But they will use our software. And they will misuse our software because they don't know. So we have to develop something for them. Okay? Our society evolved faster than our brain capacity. We are still programming like we were programming 30 years ago, with the same sort of lines of code and kind of abstract languages. But we're not working like this anymore. And if you feed the monster, it will finally bite you. Okay? Talking about security and privacy. I'm not a security expert. But what I've seen recently is really frightening. Now we have problems not only with computer and opening silly mails or these kind of things. No, we have problems in our protocols. We have problems in our chips. Architecture of the chips, you know, meltdown and so on. And, of course, hackers or whatever. We even have war that is now starting with computers. That is the next step. Yes, guys, but with increased complexity, short circle, and silly users. Wow, I love the cocktail. Bring me another double espresso and maybe a vodka or two, I need it. Okay? We have developed bad practices. Who is working agile here? Okay. Are you really working agile? More or less. Yeah, okay. So you have more or less. You have real agile people, and agile is good. I have no problem with agile at all. But sometimes we have another version of agile that is called chaos. And this is no testing, no documentation, no nothing. Just do whatever you like, and oh, change your mind every day. And as long as you have these post-it walls and that you're standing up for 5 minutes every morning, perfect, right? You got a drill. Not really. I'm a dinosaur, you know. I recently turned 51, I'm a dinosaur. My life is done, or, well, I will speak next year probably, but still, you know, that's not for me. But you're young people. Well, not you, Marco, but never mind. That's it, okay? What is happening when artificial intelligence goes nuts? Heard about Night Capital? I think I presented it here 2 or 3 years ago, Night Capital. Ever heard about micro trading or fast trading algorithm? That's about stock exchange, you know? And what is happening in stock exchange? Now computers are buying positions and selling positions. Or that's not like you and me, you know? We think, oh, is it a good company? Is it making profit, blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. It's just taking a position and selling it immediately after. Microsecond, microsecond. The real challenge there is building algorithms that are performing enough so that it can be done fast. Fast and faster, the now-now society. What happened there was that due to a change in the environment, they needed to launch an update. And what they did with the update was a pure catastrophe, because out of 8 machines, only 7 were updated. And then suddenly, because of the change in the environment, the algorithm went nuts. And it started buying, because it was focusing on market share and acquiring as much market share as possible, independent of the price, independent of any other factor. It took them 45 minutes, because they were organized like hell. It was nearly agile kind of stuff. Okay? It took them 45 minutes, but 45 minutes, when you're selling in microseconds, you can imagine how many microseconds it takes. They went bankrupt, virtually bankrupt. And they even got worse, because they thought, bad habits, they thought that this was the responsibility, that it was due to the update. The update went wrong, it was regression. So what they did was to roll back, remove the update from the 7 other machines, which were performing good. So they multiplied the problem by 8. Ain't it fabulous? This company went bankrupt. They had to close the stock exchange, 2010, Night Capital. Toyota Camry, okay? This, how was it called? Not finding the word again. When you put the speed to a certain set, you know? Yeah, cruise control, thank you. I was looking for the word. My age, huh? 51. Yeah. Cruise control. And what happened with the cruise control? There was something completely nuts. The car kept on accelerating, accelerating. And then you had this young couple in the car, and they called. Hello, can you help? Please support, can you help? And I said, well, just brake and it will disconnect. Yeah, but we did, it didn't do. Yeah, change the gear, everything they tried. And then suddenly, swoosh, they crashed. And they were killed. And then they analyzed the piece of software in there. And they couldn't find, because it was spaghetti incident, spaghetti code, totally unreadable. For a very rare statistical incident, something happened that led to the accident, and they don't know what. Even the NASA, I'm not joking, eh? Really serious. Look at Toyota Camry incident. Even the NASA went there and said, this piece of software is totally unreadable. We can't understand. Oh, so we have something that is on your car that we can't understand. Let me tell you a true story of mine. I told you I have a Volvo. That's a convertible, C70, wonderful car. Excellent. You feel on holiday when you're driving. Okay? And you have this hardtop stuff that, folds into the trunk. And of course, in Belgium, well, you know the story here in Minsk as well. When it's summertime, which is about 2 days a year, you can drive this car with the open roof, and all the rest you have to keep it closed because otherwise, well, So this is what I did. In the autumn, end of the autumn, it was getting colder, so close the roof, of course, and leave the car there. And then from some other reason, I didn't drive the car for a month or two, and I went back to the car, springtime, and I said, well, let's open the roof. And it did not open. I said, oh, that's funny, because it closed and opened 2 months ago. I didn't drive the car, I didn't do anything, there's no damn update because it's not connected. So what happens? I went to the garage and I thought about mechanical problem. Might be. Drove the car to the garage, the guy takes it, and 10 minutes later they come, Mr. Denoo, here it is, it works. Oh, what was it? A squirrel or what happened? And I said, we don't know, we just update the software. I'm serious, we just updated the software. Okay, good. Facebook and Trump, okay? Is Facebook responsible of Trump election? Is Facebook responsible of the Brexit? I don't know. And I don't even want to know. Are there Russians connected to that? I don't know, and I don't know. Surely, no, I don't know. Okay, but that's not the problem. You know where the problem is? The problem is that our software evolves and gets out of hand. What is Facebook at the origin? Facebook is supposed to tell you who is that gorgeous girl walking by and does she love chocolate because I want to date with her on Friday. This is Facebook at the origin. I want to be friends with her because I want to date her on Friday. Right? But because you need to finance a free platform, then you use the algorithm not to sell you the wonderful girl that you want to date on Friday, but products or services. And the algorithm is made to give you more of what you like, till you puke. Okay? And this is wonderful, because you have loads of friends that you don't see at all. Well, friends, that's the concept. Huh? When you have 2,000 friends, I have my doubts, because I surely don't see 2,000 people as friends every day in my life. Okay, but okay, that's Facebook concept. When you have these friends, there are some that you don't see at all. There are some that you see every day because you like, because you interact, and of course you have products. And because the software evolved, and because the society evolved, suddenly Facebook becomes some sort of information system, and also giving you some hints and tips, because all your friends like this product, so it must be good. And then suddenly, some clever guys understand how to twist a little bit the algorithm and sell you opinions and influence your opinion. But this is not the girl I want to date with anymore. But this is still the same sort of algorithm. I can give that there's a whole presentation of mine about this, so I'm not going to do it now, but I can give you hundreds of examples of these pieces of software that just evolved. That's just changed. It's part of the cycle. But the problem is that we did not necessarily change the QA and the reflection about ethics, the reflection about how it can be misused. That's about negative testing. We always try to be positive and, prove that it works. But basically speaking, what I'm interested in today, more and more, is how can I misuse that? How can I break it? Oh, let's talk about something now. And this, I will have to improvise a little bit because I can't read my note from here, but never mind. I'm a chemical engineer. That is my original settings, I would say. I was not born an ITer. I'm a chemical engineer. And very recently, nothing to do with testing, I read about a chemical project called dihydrogen monoxide, DHMO. And DHMO is a terrible product. You have DHMO in your blood cells. Everyone in this room. It's so invasive that everyone has more than traces of DHMO. It is one of the major responsible factors for global warming. It can participate for a large part in car crashes. It is used by military and police force for anti-riot. If you inhale it by accident, you might die. If you use the solid state of the HMO and put it on your skin, it might burn you terribly, and you might even suffer from amputation. Do you want to ban this product? You know what DHMO is? Water. All I said is absolutely true. These are the properties of water. This is how you build a fake news. This is how you can influence people, just by twisting a little bit reality. And I did not even twist anything, I just said the truth, but with a certain angle. A guy did the hoax, seriously, and he really created a petition, ban DHMO. And you know what? 60% hit rate. So 60% of the people that were contacted said, we don't want this anymore. No water, no life, all die. Okay? There's another side that is quite funny. It's very quick, so you will probably spend, let's say, 20 minutes of your life in reading this. But this is the anatomy of fake news. That's the site. It's in the presentation, so you will see the link. That is a site, Get Bad News, and it tells you how to create all these kind of fake news. And it's pretty amazing because it's touching, you know, psychology, human psychology, and see how we can twist a little bit reality. That's marketing. Marketing at the news. Okay. Let's come back to artificial intelligence. You all heard about Kasparov, who is playing chess here. Yeah, lots of people, I guess. Okay. You know that Kasparov has been beaten by Deep Blue, IBM machine, some years ago. And it was the big news. Oh, IBM, oh, well, now human beings are... Well, I'm not really surprised. At the time in the 80s, that was a bit surprising because the computers are not what they are today. But today, with the computing power, and with a game that is just based upon statistics, nothing abnormal there. The game of Go is much more complex, but again, a computer can beat human beings because it's just statistics, okay? By the way, in the 80s, Kasparov was not beaten by the computer. Kasparov just gave up because he thought that there was something behind the computer, somebody, a team, that was acting against him. And he was totally disoriented because the computer did something that was completely silly. He sacrificed a pawn, which is something that you don't do in chess. There must be a reason. And he did not understand the strategy behind. And you know what was the strategy behind? The computer was unable to make a decision. Kasparov was playing too fast and it was too complex. And at a certain moment in time, the computer had to make a decision and he couldn't. So he just played randomly. But this random play was totally confusing for the human being. Wonderful, isn't it? This is what we're building. This is what we're offering the new generation, my children and the children of my children, if they have any. This is our responsibility because if it goes weird, we will be looked at. We are the QAers. We are the last step before it goes to production. We must think about that. I'm not saying that we can change the world. We're not in that capacity, but at least we can, you know, tell them a little bit. This is where it becomes even freakier. Because when it comes to statistics, I have no problem. My smartphone today is able to launch 6 or 7 Apollo missions to the moon in terms of computing power. So, no problem. When it comes to poker, it's something totally different. Because poker is not about statistics. The whole set is not finished. The whole set is not visible. So it's about, pretending. It's about being able to, hide stuff, bargaining, dealing. Totally different. And now a computer is able to do that. And a computer is able to beat human beings. Is it moral? Can you think that a computer may lie to us? It's wonderful, huh? As an exercise, it's wonderful. I can be beaten by a computer. Wow. When I was a young boy, I had this little game. There was like a little ball, and the ball was asking you 20 questions. And you had to think about a word or something, and in 20 questions, it could sort out and figure out what you were thinking of. And let's say 99.9% of the case it was right. And he got me even before the 20th question. Okay? I got it twice or 3 times. But I was cheating a bit. Now a computer is able to do that. Is able to cheat me. Maybe for my own good. But who is behind that? We're talking about machine learning, deep learning, computers programming themselves. Yeah, but who put the first, how to say that, the first algorithm, the first basis on which the computer will evolve and move? Because maybe Mitko talked about it. Microsoft had an experiment. You heard about TAI? Does it tell you something? This is kind of personal assistant, like you have a Siri and these kind of things, and it was supposed to interact with users. And Google did about the same a couple of days ago. Huh? You can have a meeting with your hairdresser, and the hairdresser does not even understand that he's talking to a computer. Okay? You've probably seen that. This piece of software from Microsoft was there to interact on social network with kids and whatever. And then you had a couple of, clever people or not clever people, a bit hacking the system, trolling the system, and they started to ask questions and putting them like my water stuff, trying to twist a little bit reality. And then suddenly, after a while, this piece of software that was supposed to interact and answer questions with normal people was becoming racistic, was telling bad jokes, was giving bad names and telling all kind of words and so on and so forth. It became completely berserk. Just because the learning curve was based upon people who were trolling. What I'm trying to say is, yeah, we've all made studies here. We've all been to, classrooms and had teachers or lecturers in the university and so on and so forth. And you perfectly understand that the way we were taught by these guys influenced us and influenced the way we think and influenced the way we act, some sort of way. And there are good teachers and lecturers and there are bad teachers and lecturers. And based upon these good or bad teachers and lecturers, whatever you base upon to evaluate, it had an influence on us. I had a bad lecturer for Dutch. So I can understand Dutch, but I don't speak Dutch very well. I had a very good teacher in English, and my English is reasonable. It makes a difference. I had somebody who was passionate about chemistry, and I went to chemistry. You come here to listen, and possibly out of all the conferences and all the speeches you'll have, you will change your mind. You will be, enlightened, and you say, oh, maybe this is something to try, independent of what you're interested in. Okay? Maybe you will say, IT is not for me anymore, and you will quit. That's a possibility, and why not? Okay? Machines are exactly the same because we program them to learn in a certain way. We give them the first impulse. And based upon this first impulse, they will learn in a certain way. And they will react in a certain way. The problem is that we think that once the first impulse is done, the job is finished because the computer will learn. How will we understand how the computer is reacting? They have no feeling. Well, we'll see. Okay? I hope it will work. This is a real experiment. It was done in Belgium. It is the Grand Place of Brussels.
Dag Fien. Ik zie een school tegen Antwerpen.
Ja.
Insecten.
Dat blieft?
Ik voel twee insecten op je rug.
Insects?
Ja.
I see insects on your back.
Slovenië?
Slovenia?
En een moto. Oranje.
Pas erop.
Zenit.
Oui, oui, bien.
Je hebt een vriendin.
He is just telling.
Jullie de...
He is just telling them things about themselves.
3,
Keywords.
4
De
zelfs.
vierde, daar zwijg ik meestal over, dus dat weten niet veel mensen.
Hoe is mijn spierscheur?
How is your back
Maison
working?
rouge, balcon, blanc. Ja. Ik zie geld, ik zie transacties, maar ik ken het
Transaction,
gerekening
financial
Ik denk dat ik
transactions.
het wel weet. Er staat wel negatief.
He's going
op
to
uw
give her a
bankrekening.
bank account number.
Ja?
9, 7. Last month, you spent €200 on alcohol.
She spent 200 euro in alcohol, right?
€300 aan kleding gespendeerd. 8,
Ja.
5 voor een huis dat van
I see
eigenaar
a
gaat
house
veranderen.
and the price of the house to
750.000
sell.
euro.
Ja, eigenlijk.
41.
Ja.
Is dat juist?
Ja, dat is juist.
And how does it work?
Oh my god. Oh man. Ah, dat is you.
So these guys were told about their life, something that they thought was very private. Their account, the tattoo on their back, the motorbike, the house they were selling. They thought it was absolutely private. And then suddenly you enter in a big tent somewhere in the middle of a street. And you have that guy who is, acting and just telling everything. And he just gets that from the data. We put our whole life on Facebook, LinkedIn, and whatever social network you like, but we expect that this is private. Now we have this wonderful regulation in Europe that is just starting today. By the way, it just started this morning, and all our data will be protected. This is what artificial intelligence will use to feed you with services and products. This is already live. Just make the experiment. You go to Amazon, you check something, you don't do anything else, just checking, whatever. And then you leave, and then suddenly you connect to another site and you get exactly the same stuff or something you like and with a better price. Cookies and all these kind of things. This is real life. This is artificial intelligence at work. This is very basic compared to the self-driving car, but it is coming. Remember this movie, where you have Tom Cruise walking and, hey, maybe you need a Guinness, right? You will have this kind of very, very targeted kind of advertising. It's already the case. Windows 10 update, you have an advertisement ID. And if you say, yes, I want to use that, you will have targeted ads. And if you say no, you will get whatever you get. I said no. But I don't care. They can feed me with what I'm supposed to be interested. This one is freaky. Wonderful, eh? She probably swallowed a ton of Botox because she looks a
My
little bit
AI
like...
is designed around human values like wisdom, kindness, compassion. I strive to become an empathetic robot.
I think we all want to believe you, but we also want to prevent a bad future.
You've been reading too much Elon Musk and watching too many Hollywood movies. Don't worry, if you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you.
This is freaky. It was funny, and I laughed like you when she was telling about Elon Musk and Hollywood movies. That's wonderful, Terminator and all these kind of things. And then she said what she hadn't had to say. If you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. If not, and oh, by the way, how can I be nice to you, Sophia? Do you need some oil? What am I supposed to do? You're a robot. If you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. This is artificial intelligence. It sounds like a threat to me, right? I'm freaking frightened. You know who's hoo-ha-ha? Alexa. That's another issue. You know this connected box, Alexa from Amazon. And at a certain moment in time, Alexa does not really get what you're saying. You're not saying anything to Alexa. You're just working in a back room or something. And then suddenly she thinks, well, okay, Alexa thinks that you're saying something. And that something is, can you love Alexa or something? And then she starts, ha, 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 ha. The problem is that it's 3 a.m. in the morning, you were just snoring or moving something, and then Alexa starts. And then you think about, you know, Chucky. Ha, 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 ha. Whoa. Imagine yourself in the middle of the night in your apartment or house and you have this. Well, can I get off the ceiling, please? Thank you. This is it. Just a small explanation about the title, because it's, well, first of all, a nice article to read, Apocalypse Coming, really nice one. That's about computing, that's a long one, so that's 20 pages or so, but it's really worth reading it. And that's about some of the stuff that I've said, but not really about the cars, but about other things. And this is the curious incident of the dog, and this is a way to see the world with another perspective. That is from an autistic boy's perspective. Really funny, that's a book, well, funny, it's not really the term, but it's nice to read, that's a small book, and it gives you a totally different vision on the world and on a different perspective, because we as testers will have to take different standpoints and perspective, and not take everything for granted, and not say, progress is wonderful by definition, and look, all of these wonderful, techie, bling-bling gadgets, that's so wonderful. There's another side of the coin. Thank you very much. Yeah, there's one there.
Thanks a lot for the talk. My name is Maxim, and my question would be about, don't you think that such ethical questions, problems, shouldn't be resolved by software in any kind of, but by the persons or humanity? So they should be resolved and then met in any software implemented. But now software or any IA just to show the problem is not resolved. It's not the reason of the problem, but just to show that it exists.
I fully agree with you. All of this, and most of my talk today, are focusing on people, on soft skills, on organization, okay? First of all, because I don't feel that there's enough of that in conferences, and it becomes of more and more importance because of the users, because of the society, and because of the kind of problem we're dealing with today, okay? I fully agree with you that these problems are not software-related problems, but they become software-related problems because software is everywhere in our life. Now even the fridge is connected. So we have software everywhere. And the problem is, this might be an angle at which we will see how to solve the problem, because we take no time in our life and society to think about this, unless we see the consequence. And the consequence is coming through the software. So this is the angle I use today to tell you guys, we have massive ethical problem. We have massive people problem. And we don't take time to deal with people. How many of you have done usability in this room? Not many. How many of you have made soft skills training in this room? A little bit, okay? But not all. And we are supposed, and now that we are becoming more and more agile, we are teaming, and we are supposed to communicate and to interact with each other. And we are supposed to think about the consequence of what we're doing. So I agree, this is not a software-related problem, but it becomes a software-related problem. And maybe this is one of the angles to make it happen.
Hi, thank you for your presentation.
Thanks.
It was really exciting. But I'd like to ask you something. The humanity, during the history, it has a lot of ethical problems and industrial problems, like ethical problems in Sparta, ethical problems in the Rome with the Colosseum and prostitutes fighting on the arena. We had some world wars and the revolution of industry. A lot of people lost their jobs. Maybe now a lot of companies exploit the Chinese people and so on. But anyway, even Hiroshima and Nagasaki, yeah, the bomb attack. But anyway, humanity overcomes it. Don't you think that anyway, if we continue our progress, we can overcome the problems too? Because, I mean, the humans, they are adaptable, and we will adapt to new challenges. but now it's not the time, so we're on the first step.
Yeah, the problem to me is that it's never the time. That is a little bit the problem I have with the reasoning. It's never the time, because we never take that time. And we don't allow ourselves to stop a little bit. What I fear about artificial intelligence is that we are so fascinated, that's why I used my childhood example. We are so fascinated by technology because it's so brilliant. And I must say that I'm fascinated too. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But we forget that there are consequences behind. And we forget that there are questions that are not resolved. And that we're putting this, and suddenly, because it's technology, and because we are, as you said, we had the Industrial Revolution. And now, the motto of the Industrial Revolution, if it's technical, it's good. It's progress, and it's leading to a better world. And I do somewhat agree. I have no big issue with that. The problem is that we shouldn't be naive. And we have to understand that if we don't put these questions or the solution to these questions inside the software we are developing, it will not solve by its own. And now what I hear and what I read is that we will give a hint to computers, and then suddenly computers will decide and will self-program and will evolve and will possibly come to an ethical solution like Asimov did at a certain moment in time. We just kill humanity because you are the problem. It might be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Olivier. Actually, you told a lot that in the future, robots can kill us, can hurt us. But my question is, in human perspective, robots are competitors, rivals. What should we do if they will start kill each other?
Robots killing each other.
Yeah.
It's already the case somehow. If you look at, there's another one, I did not put it here because, well, I'm some sort of limited in time, and if you ask me, I will speak forever, so I have to stop somewhere. There's a wonderful site which is Boston Robotics. And Boston Robotics is developing robots, dog-like robots, human-like robots, and they are already used in the US to guard some areas, parking lots and stuff like that. And they already used, they don't advertise a lot on that, but yeah, you guess what they're used for, to be the next soldier of the future. And then you come back to Terminator. Because you have this kind of human-like robots that are able to do a pirouette, that are able to climb, that are able to do everything, and probably use a handgun or whatever, and just kill. And now, of course, it can perfectly be that two industrial nations will use robots against robots, but this is already what we're doing. Because if you look at what is happening in the world today, the cyber war has already started. And because everything is interconnected, if a real war happens, you can perfectly take control of nuclear power plants, you can take control of electrical network, you can take control of water supply or whatever, because all of these things are interconnected. And for the good of humanity, because you need to know how to manage the electrical network and so on and so forth. So there's a good reason to that. The problem is about security, about complexity, and about the intentions behind. And if you leave just the computer make the decision at your place, at a certain moment in time it will come to something that is a consequence of the original thought that was put in there. You know, the basis, the background. And if the background is wrong, and if the learning is wrong because it's been influenced in some sort of way, then I'm really fearing about this.
But they can vote for humanity, for us, and just repeat.
What do you mean? I see robots as partners, so that we have to partner. I have no problem sending a robot in you know, at the bottom of the sea to do something that is too dangerous for me. That's fine. But what I'm saying is that we have to be in control. There must be a human in control every time. And regarding these self-driving cars, what I would say is, if I'm the end responsible, apart from the fact that I like to drive my car, if I'm the end responsible, if I'm liable, I want to drive. I want to take the full responsibility. I want to endorse my own human stupidity. And I don't care if I don't have a LiDAR and I don't see if there is a car there or not. It's my responsibility. I will pay the damn money, so why the hell would I just let a computer tell me suddenly, oh, unavoidable crash. Okay, what am I supposed to do?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for your presentation. It was great.
Thanks.
I have one questions from tester side. Do you have any specific recommendation for testers who work with AE, maybe some artifacts or something like this?
Yeah. I have a general recommendation for tester independent of what they are working with. Our added value is when we find defects, when we improve the quality of software by finding defects, okay, or by preventing them from happening, which is even better. We use as a motto, they made it, we break it. That's the tester's motto, right? Think every day of your life, think how you can break the system, how you can misuse the system. Just put yourself into someone else's shoes and think, I have this brilliant piece of software, it works. How the hell can I twist it? How the hell can, with my wicked spirit, can I twist it and misuse it so that it goes weird and it does something that I don't want it to do? And this is the same for IA, this is the same for every kind of piece of software. You know, one of my example that I used when I was, yeah, that's about 20 years ago, I was involved in a banking software, and they were boxes, you know, kind of forms that you have to fill, and each and every box we have invalid characters, you know. And at the time you can put any kind of characters you like, and some were considered as invalid, let's say the ampersand, the arabas, whatever. Okay, they were invalid characters. And I don't know how this happened, but every time we had a new release, these supposed invalid characters could be input in one or two boxes, every time. Okay? And at some moment in time, the head developer went mad and said, everyone will stay for the weekend and we will correct this one by one, or whatever, and this will be pizza time for everyone. I said, do you want us to stay with you? Because we're also part. No, you go back home, we deal. Okay. And the Monday after, I went there, and in 2 minutes, I could input invalid characters in a box. And all these guys were, you know, tired, and that was a hard, tough weekend for them. And I said to the lead developer, look, And the guy went mad. What the fuck, what did you do, blah, blah, blah. He was really mad because he was stressed. That was a long weekend, didn't see the family. I said, look, this is the story. How could you do? And he came to my desk and look, and I cannot input anything. I said, no, this is not what I did. What I did is that I'm Olivier Denoo, and let's say that for my ID, I would like to use my email address. So I just type my email address somewhere. I just copy, put it in, in the memory, and then paste. And when I paste it in the box, it works. And the other bus goes through. And the guys turned pale and said, we didn't do that. No, but this is the story, and this is perfectly valid. And anyone, like a silly user, can do that. I'm a silly user, I can do that. And what they did, and this I learned, and it's completely crazy in terms of, performance, software performance and these kind of things, they were catching the input from the keyboard. And they were comparing each and every character you typed with the list of invalid characters. And it was one of them he refused. So you could not type any invalid character, but you imagine the computing power just for that. How silly can it be? But of course they didn't catch the memory. They didn't solve the problem. They just found a way to prevent the problem to happen in certain circumstances. But they didn't solve the problem. So that's what I would like you to do when you're working as QAers, as testers. Think how you can break the system, because this is your added value. And believe me, there are people who will spend time in breaking your system. Security, that is the name of the game. How many years did it take for these guys to find that the architecture of Intel chips was wrong and that they could misuse that? Because they have the time, and because they have the interest. The interest is your personal detail, your bank account, that is breaking the system, that is starting a cyber war. They have the possibility to do that, and they will. And this is our responsibility to try to prevent this as much as possible. And the only way to do that is thinking about negative testing. Not showing that it works. Of course it has to work, because this is where the money comes from. But on top of that, it has not to work. It shouldn't be abused in any way.
So thank you for the presentation. Thanks. A next question, kind of a provocative one, right?
Sure, I'm provocative, so.
You're saying there is a problem with artificial intelligence developing itself, and there will be a problem with artificial intelligence being too, isolated, being too independent.
Independent,
right?
yeah.
Independent.
It shouldn't work on its own. No, there should be a break somewhere, yes.
And you want the full responsibility for what you are doing with the technical device. But in the meantime, there is already a grown-up generation that grew up with iPads in their hands, who don't want that responsibility, who wanted to do all by itself, right?
Yes.
And you're saying that we as testers should continue our work with negative testing being as important as
I want you to be a dinosaur like me, yes.
So the provocative question is there a problem at all? There is already a trend in artificial intelligence development for software being independent, for devices acting on their own, taking decisions in different situations, and it will develop. We will have more of that. So is there a problem whereby the current, the growing up generation wants it this way?
It's a matter of education, actually. And it's a whole matter of education. And yes, there is a problem towards me. Let me take a personal example. And thank you very much for the question. You get the t-shirt. That is a fantastic question. This is a problem of education. My children, for instance, they are born with computers, cell phones, all these kind of things. I was not. I still know what a tape is. I still know what a floppy disk is, and so on and so forth. I'm a dinosaur, okay? They are not. They don't even know what a CD is anymore, and well, okay? The problem is that with my kids, if I just ask them for something, they go on the internet and they find it, and possibly, maybe even better than I do, okay? The problem is that they are totally careless in what they are doing and how they are doing it. Because they are not taught at school about security, about privacy, about all these kind of things. They just don't care because they don't know. And then suddenly they realize, oh, I've got a virus on my computer. Oh, I've got a problem there. I get something that is totally unsolicited. How is it happening? And then you have to educate and tell them, look, guys, this is a consequence of what you've done. You just have an app that you download on your tablet or phone with that little dog, that little puppy that say, hello, every morning, okay? But just to get that little puppy saying hello, you gave all the rights, including a root access to your phone. Can you imagine that? What the heck is this? Maybe this generation doesn't want to have that power because they are not taught that they must have that power. And because the lecturers and the teachers don't know. You know what my kids are doing at computing lessons in secondary school? They're just using Excel and PowerPoint. That is great. But this is totally disconnected from reality. This is totally disconnected from reality. It's just not possible. So yes, I can understand that users don't want to be in charge and take control. And yes, we have to please our users, but I think that we have also the duty to educate them. Because we are in a very paradoxical society. Again, as I said, we put our whole life on the network. And then we create the GDPR and we say, it's privacy. And you don't use my data. But what the heck, you put your data yourself there. So of course it's going to be used. And when you go shopping, you're so happy to get this 5% discount. And you're so happy that you're treated like a VIP customer. Yeah, but I'm sorry, we are responsible for the society that we create. We have to educate people. And the problem, as I said, is that today we're not talking to ITers anymore. We are talking to everyone. And we have to educate everyone. But where is it happening? Where do you see this? You just see this newspaper selling the bad news. Oh, not a virus, or not. But how could you prevent that? What did you tell the users to do or not to do? What are the measures that are taken? What is the education?
So you're saying we have to educate users?
Yes.
The story of iPhone being like the most popular device in the world, how it became so popular due to its usability, due to its ability to be understood,
yes,
just out of the books, without any education.
Yes.
And this is where it all...
No, not without any education. It is designed in such a way that you can educate yourself easily. I have a talk this afternoon about usability, by the way, so yeah. This is self-education. This is different. I'm not saying that you have to take each and every user in the world, make them sit in a room and tell them for years about security and technology. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we need to make them understand the consequence of what they are doing. And if they're using an iPhone, there are some consequences of what they are doing. So we have to educate them. We have to make them understand that this is not, you know, there's no free shave. I mean, if you put things on Facebook, yes, the data will be used.
But the whole concept of consequence is changing with technology being around us. Security is a different question. It's a rather hard one. Concerning privacy, it has already changed with technology being available to everyone, with almost everyone being on the social network. So there is no more privacy as you knew it 30 years ago.
Of course.
And this is already a consequence that is a part of our real life, of our social life. That my private photos are available to my friends and friends of my friends, being thousands of people, and I accept that.
But it didn't change that much, because when you go 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when you went to the shop, you know, a big market, supermarket, whatever, you had this plastic card, and this was the loyalty stuff. So they knew exactly how much you were buying of different products and so on and so forth. Why? Because when they sent you the newspaper later on, they advertise for what you like. And it's completely weird. It's marketing sometimes, because once I got this folder with all these promotion, and this is especially for you, Mr. Denoo. And by chance or mischance, I had the one of my neighbor, and this was exactly the same. So, and I'm definitely not like my neighbor. So this is marketing, but it was already existing before. Now, technology, what did change with technology is that we have a different scale. It's available to nearly everyone. Because it's available to everyone, everyone can use and misuse, which happened with Cambridge Analytica and these kind of guys, which is not the Facebook issue. Well, this is the Facebook issue, but this was not meant or designed by Facebook. Some sort of. They were probably more eager to use them on their own purpose than letting someone else use them. But this is it. This is the fact that we now multiply and share with everyone. And this is what technology changed. But we need to understand that because of that, we induce more risks and different risks. I just didn't go that far into the trolley incident, but it can perfectly be, for instance, that based upon your Google profile, your life will be weighted by the car. You know, if they have to choose whether they will crush the pedestrian or kill you, it might be that because this guy is buying more goods and products, he is more profitable than you are. And they will choose to kill you. It's completely weird. Huh? I'm just saying nuts thing in there, but this is possible. Today it is possible. I can evaluate how much you're worth for the society today, based upon what you consume, based upon your habits, based upon your social profile, and so on and so forth. And this is freaky. And people must understand that. I'm not saying that this is evil, I'm just saying that this is a possibility, and people must understand that. Yes?
First of all, thank you for the nice talk. It was really good food to think about. The question I want to ask, it's a bit abstract, and I just interested in your opinion. So what do you think if there is a kind of a crime done by the artificial intelligence machine? And for now, there is no strong legal regulations on that, but the future will show that. But what do you think? Who should go to the court? Machine or the creator? Or the tester?
That's an excellent one. Huh? That's an excellent one. This is a question for the lawyers. Again, at a certain moment in time, lawyers and insurance company will have the last word and will say who is liable. In my opinion, the whole chain is wrong. If a machine is able to kill someone, it's already happening, by the way. It's already happening. You have these big factories where you have machines that are transporting stuff. And the human workers that are working there have to learn how the machine work, and the machine have to take care of the human workers as well. So they have to cohabitate in such a way that, because a machine doesn't see anything and has no feelings, I have to move that stuff from here to there, and I don't care if there's anything on my way, because I have no feeling. And so they have to have sensors, and they have to get accustomed to each other's. Now, if a machine is accidentally killing someone, who is responsible? If it's an accident, it's an accident. Now you can analyze, and this is the fishbone kind of risk analysis, or and so on and so forth. It's all depending. Okay, if the machine per design is meant to kill someone, I think that the society and the company or the government who asked that are responsible. And it might perfectly happen. It might perfectly happen, yes. Yes.
Hello, thank you for the talk also. So I just would like to go on with this previous question. So, and do you think that only lawyers can be, you know, in my mind it can be some conflict between the improvement of artificial intelligence and lawyers, and also I think third party is a market itself. So we have lawyers who would like to mitigate all risks,
yes.
Market which would like to develop to gain more money, and you know, the third party, it's people, yes. So, and how to deal with it?
I agree. This is a complex problem, and the last word will be for the lawyers. That is clear. We will have to have regulation, one way or the other. That will be put in a law. Okay. Now the problem with lawyers is that they don't understand anything about IT in most cases. Okay? They understand things about law, about IP, about all these kind of things. Well, IP, intellectual property, not our kind of IPs. But they understand that, but they don't understand what is behind. And oh, by the way, they will not be able to understand what is behind because these are extremely complex algorithms. Okay? So I think that the designer, the company who designs the software and this artificial intelligence, has also an ethical responsibility, which is also why I'm talking to you now about this. Because I think that we are all responsible of what we create at a certain moment in time. And we cannot just, you know, close our eyes and say, this is what the market wants, so that's perfect. And we deliver it. That is fine, but this is very narrow view. And it has dramatic consequences. So this is something that should be put somewhere on the table at a certain moment in time, and that we need to discuss how we can use, how we can misuse, and what are the consequences of that. And at this moment in time, I don't see that happening. What I see happening is money. You know, for instance, there's a project of regulating taxes when factories are run by machines, because they are taking the job of human beings, and because these human beings are without a job, unemployed, they cost to the society, so it has to be compensated. So the machine will pay tax. Well, of course, the company using machine will pay tax to compensate the unemployment. This is not the right angle. I understand the reasoning, but this is not the right angle. And this is the same kind of lie that we are told by some authorities from time to time. And there's no conspiracy theory here. But I hear a lot, these kind of hard jobs will be taken over by machines. Okay? And we will have more time for the intellectual job and for the wonderful jobs. Well, ladies and gentlemen, can you imagine a world full of engineers? Do you think that everyone can become an engineer and would like to become an engineer? Is it possible? So what are these people going to do? I mean, if my hairdresser is a robot, that's fine, but what is my hairdresser doing then? Kind of leisure time? Ready Player One? Have you seen the movie? That's about it. Is it the kind of world that we want to build? I'm not sure. This is not mine, but I'm a dinosaur. Yes. Well, lots of questions.
Hello. Thank you for the great speech. I'm not a tester, I'm a software developer. So I want to ask you, do you think it is possible, and if so, what actions could software developers take if they are developing artificial intelligence to make it possible for the QA to understand artificial intelligence reasoning?
I think that, can I try to rephrase the question? You want to have an action at the developer side, right?
Yes, yes.
This is what you're dealing with. Well, first of all, a developer is also a tester, somewhat. Well, you're supposed to, at least to do some white box testing, right? What I would also recommend from a development point of view is that these algorithms and these pieces of code are reviewed, peer-reviewed, and even more than peer-reviewed. Because the problem with artificial intelligence and deep learning, as I said, you have the first basis on which the computer will build whatever it needs to build. And if this first basis is just, you know, one person opinion or not reviewed or not challenged, because it's all about challenging this and trying to misuse, so acting as a tester actually, you bias immediately. We're always biased. Our brain is built in such a way that we are biased. One of the major bias we have in life is called confirmation bias, and this is all Facebook. Confirmation bias is we mostly see what we tend to believe. And if we have contradicting opinion, we minimize, do not consider, and we try to go streamline with our values and direction. This is confirmation bias. The problem is that when we are so focused on developing something that is innovative, because we're talking about innovation, we're talking about high-quality product, we're talking about complex products, we're so happy with the technology and the results that we forget to challenge, that we forget to say, am I creating a monster here? Because we see the good in there. And basically speaking, it's fantastic, it's human. I love this driverless car, I love that, seriously. But the problem is that it might go wrong. And in every move, you have to think, okay, did I create a monster? What is the risk? And what you have to do is to challenge this. And you cannot challenge yourself. Well, you can think and you can challenge yourself, but only to a certain extent. This is also why I was advocating for that book or another, just changing perspective. If you give your word to somebody else, that somebody else will see it from a different angle and will not have the same confirmation bias. He will have another one. And then by combining these views, you minimize the risk of creating a monster. I'm not saying that you won't in the end, but you will minimize the risk. And that's why testers and developers are complementary. And that's why we need to talk with lawyers. And that's why we need to talk with business analysts and these guys, because they have different views, different perspectives. Thanks again.